Do you love the enchanting whimsy of Disney movies? And the cute fantasy films of Studio Ghibli? Well, let me introduce you to my fantastic friend Sora Starr. She's an incredibly talented and gifted Scottish artist who specialises in unique Disney fan art and renditions of folklore creatures. If what you're seeing on screen right now is to your fancy, then please consider following her on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. You can also purchase prints of her art or custom commissions from her coffee shop. Whatever you order from her coffee will be packaged with love and care, plus everything is shipped for free worldwide. It's very important for us to support brilliant independent artists like Sora. Thank you, folks. Howdy folks, Jamboriki here, and in today's episode of Puppet Panic, I'm finally going to be talking about Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, the Netflix series that acts as a prequel to the classic Jim Henson movie, The Dark Crystal. Long ago in the world of Fra, the wise elder Mother Olgra decided to spiritually explore the universe to expand her knowledge, and she left Fra's Crystal of Truth with the Skeksis. However, while Olgra slumbered, the Skeksis took advantage of the crystal's power. This abuse of the crystal creates a darkening under Fra that destroys the environment and turns wild animals evil. Cut to modern day, Gelfling guards have been assigned to protect the Skeksis' castle. Two such guards are Rian, son of the captain, and Mira. After they both witness seeing a strange creature, they begin exploring the castle, only for Mira to bump into the Skeksis in their lab, where they trick her into letting the crystal drain her essence. The Skeksis realise that Rian was watching Mira's murder, demand that he is captured, and spread the rumour that he killed Mira, so Rian goes on the run. Meanwhile, a Gelfling princess called Briar is beginning to uncover the secrets of the Skeksis and the history of her race's past, but her mother, the Ulmoldra, refuses to listen. Not to mention, Deet, a Gelfling from an underground clan, comes up to the surface to tell the Ulmoldra about the darkening, and she gets some help from a friendly potling called Hup. Mother Olgra finally wakes from her sleep, realises what the Skeksis have been doing with the crystal, and a dream fasting experience bands all our heroes together. Thus the Resistance is born. So I rewatched the original Dark Crystal. It's a film that's held up really well. While it's basically a straightforward point A to point B adventure, the storytelling throughout the journey is excellent. From the intricately detailed world building to the nuanced drip feeding of information. It enchants you into its fairy tale world with every scene, making us want to learn more and more about its lore. It's actually a miracle that Age of Resistance was even made. A modern Netflix series based on a cult dark 80s movie that used puppetry? I'm amazed that something this ambitious even got finished and is available to watch right now. Best of all though, this wasn't a cash grab of a recognisable intellectual property. No, this was a passion project for genuine fans of the movie, Jim Henson's family, and original artist Brian Froud. Everyone on board with this series wanted to make it, because they had an authentic love for the world that Jim Henson invented.
The Dark Crystal was heavy with the weight of legacy. Legacy because all of us grew up with Jim Henson. Legacy because The Dark Crystal was a huge movie for a lot of us who love cinema, and especially who love genre cinema. But the trick is to find that sweet spot where you still are able to be honest, you're still able to be respectful, and you're still able to be creative.
Now, when it comes to prequels, most people say that they're pointless, because we already know the ending in advance. But what I think prequels can do is show how things happened. In this show's case, it's an origin story that dives into the rich, intricate history of Gelfling clans. Yes, we're going into this show knowing full well that a Gelfling genocide is fated to happen, with Jen and Kira being the only sole survivors. But it's fascinating to learn about Gelfling politics, cultures, and traditions before this eventual tragedy happens. It's also very engaging to see how the Skeksis deceive the Gelflings. Sure, these villains look like bad guys, they're designed to be horrifying, but it's important to remember that kindness is skin deep, so we can suspend our disbelief knowing that the Gelflings would look past their ugly features to believe their act. You can also tell that the Skeksis hate putting on masks, yet they do very good jobs playing the roles of well-meaning lords.
A princess?
Yes, my lord. I am Breya, youngest daughter of the Ulmoldra.
You are a princess. Your mother has been of great service to us. You must allow us to escort you to the Citadel. It would be our pleasure.
They pull off their public persona surprisingly well. while also subtly hinting that it hurts for them to play nice. As the show goes on, the Resistance chips away at our villain's reputation, and the Skeksis start to think, hey, hang on, I don't think we need to do this nice act anymore. In the movie, dream fasting was just a quick telepathic experience for Jen and Kira to get to know each other. In Age of Resistance though, dream fasting is one of the best weapons that the Resistance have, because it serves as anti-propaganda against the Skeksis regime. The best way to dismantle a cult is to expose its followers to evidential truths, which is exactly what Rian's memories can do for the rebellion. Wherever he travels, he can instantly prove to his fellow Gelflings that the Skeksis are genocidal tyrants. Now, an average episode of this show is 45 minutes to an hour long, but there's never a scene that feels unnecessary or only there for filler. Everything happens for a reason, whether it's to develop characters, build the world of Fra, or foreshadow what's to come. Sure, there's a lot of back and forth happening, because Gelflings keep getting captured and need to be rescued, but every episode always gives us a new piece of information that'll be important in the long run. I just think that people should know what they're in for, because you do need a lot of spare time for this show compared to most puppet media. Rian is just your casual castle guard, but after witnessing the draining of Mira, he's deeply traumatized and all he can do is run away.
We are nothing alike.
When friend being drained, what did Gelfling do? Stop us? Fight Skeksis?
There was nothing I could do.
You run. Yes. And when drenching friend is caught, what did Gelfling do?
Well, Gurjin told me.
Run! Yes, save self. And father too, gobbled up by gobbles, so son could run. Save self.
His arc throughout the show is about him overcoming his trauma, standing up to the Skeksis, and regaining his reputation. He goes from being an immature castle guard, to a fugitive who pushes anti-propaganda, to the leader of the entire rebellion. It's very inspiring seeing this trauma victim develop into the rock that holds this resistance together.
The Skeksis have sowed distrust amongst us for 1,000 tries. Why? Because they fear what would happen if we were united. They were right to be afraid.
Join me at Stone in the Wood. Here, we will make our stand.
Breya is someone who redefines what a princess can be. She doesn't take tradition seriously, spends most of her time researching Fra, and is always asking questions about the status quo. She's stubborn in the best way possible because she doesn't simply accept things as they are, but rather wants to deconstruct the world around her. I love seeing her disrupting normality, from rejecting expectations to being the only royal willing to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. No matter what punishments are thrown at her or how many times her mother scolds her, she never stops wanting to know more. She is determined, like extremely determined. I wish I had her relentless energy.
Of course! The Sifa know more about symbols than any of the clans.
No! The docks are no place for a princess, and Elder Kadir is not to be trusted.
A name and where to find him. Thank you for your help.
There is always a price to pay with the Sifa, please!
I'm not afraid of the Sifa.
Celadon is stubborn like her sister, but in a far more dangerous way. She's so attached to the idea that the Skeksis are her trusted lords that she can't accept any truths that contradict the regime. Even after her mother is killed in front of her eyes, she still tries to believe that the Skeksis have good intentions. She becomes a major antagonist in the show, as her royal fashion starts resembling the Skeksis' look, and she tries to convince other clans to devote themselves to the regime.
And what will you three choose? Order or chaos? This is not the Gelfling way. It is now.
While she's technically a villain, she's also a victim of Skeksis propaganda, brainwashed so much that she does everything she can to downplay the crimes of the Skeksis regime.
Skeksis are harvesting us for essence, draining us of our very life. Lies!
Theal Wardrobe was a traitor. She betrayed the 7 clans.
You speak madness.
People who fall for cult leaders aren't stupid or weak-minded. Anyone can be convinced to follow them and be led down the wrong path. That's just a psychological fact. Luckily, the more Celadon starts seeing the harsh reality and the more loved ones she loses, the more she comes to grips with the fact that the Skeksis are pure evil. I am thankful that she clicked out of her trance sooner than later, because if she followed the regime any longer, then I would have found her to be too guilty to sympathize with anymore.
I'm so sorry. everything.
Tavra is the middle sister of the princesses. She's the most sensible and mature of the three. She does believe the truth about the Skeksis and becomes a willing fighter in the resistance, but she also wants to be a voice of reason for her sisters.
She and I are so similar, then why is it so much easier to talk to you?
That's simple. I'm fun.
That's what makes her character so appealing to me. She's brave and strong, but also a deep, rational thinker and compassionate woman. I really admired her for being such a calm and collected gelfling despite everything that's happening around her. It's my admiration for her that made her death perhaps the saddest one in the show. I was genuinely heartbroken to see her go, but at least her passing convinces Celadon to be more realistic about things and join the side of good. I loved Deet so much. She's this adorable little cinnamon roll with so much love to give. No matter how cruel the world is, she's always the gelfling who tries to support the heartbroken, wounded or ill.
Going back now won't help anyone.
I should be there to bury her. Send her essence back to Thra. There are ceremonies.
Well, maybe we could have our own ceremony. Right here.
That would help. Thank you.
That's what friends do. We help.
The fact that she's naive to the surface world makes her a perfect surrogate for the audience. Exposition comes off more naturally because other characters have to explain things about Thra to Deet in order to help her survive this land.
I'd offer you some, but I used the last of it. What's wrong?
Gobbles!
What are gobbles?
At the same time, her selflessness is also a weakness. When she agrees to take the Santry Tree's power of soaking up darkness, she becomes a powerful gelfling for the Skeksis to reckon with, because she can shoot literal darkening at them, and cure innocent creatures of their sickness. But the darkness is slowly consuming her, taking over her body, making her weak. She's been so focused on giving herself up to save others that she's neglected to care about her own well-being. It's a really sad side to her courageous sacrifice that hurts to watch. Hup is a potling who proves that size doesn't matter. Most of Thra looks down on his kind for being small and silly, but Hup, armed with a spoon, seeks to become a great hero. He often steals the spotlight of an episode because he always goes above and beyond to save the day, never letting his limitations stop him from being an action star. It's great to see Mother Olgra back with a meteor role this time, serving as a wise elder who is here to guide and support our heroes.
What's happening?
Behold! Thra cries out to you! Listen close! Each one of you is part of the song! It's time all of you heard the truth!
I love that she's this feisty and tough-spirited woman, but she also deeply cares for the environment. Unlike most wise elder tropes, she can be really sassy and no-nonsense. It's a funny twist on the cliché. She's spiritually affiliated with Thra, so she's very affectionate to wild animals. I really like that Mother Nature herself in this world is a crotchety old lady with a snappy wit and a soft spot for little critters. Then we have the Skeksis themselves. These cruel villains get as much screen time as our heroes, so we end up following every step of their evil plans. I was quite invested in their struggles as antagonists, because I was genuinely curious how they would get over certain obstacles each episode. From scientists finding a way to build the perfect draining machine, to the Chamberlain using his manipulation techniques to win back his seat next to the Emperor. The Skeksis all have this dynamic that's totally different to the friendship of our heroes. They're united together by their fear of death and pleasure for sadism, but they can also get into petty squabbles and violent fights.
Look what I've done!
That's enough from you, weakling.
How dare you!
This is what can make great villains fun to watch. The Skeksis have no moral compasses, they only care about their pride. So when it comes to ethical boundaries, they have none. But what I find most interesting is that we learn about Skeksis characters who live outside the castle, something that totally expands Skeksis culture beyond what we initially thought it was. There's Hunter, a terrifying assassin who was assigned to hunt Rian during the rebellion. He stands out as a Skeksis because he's far more agile and combat skilled than the rest of his kind. His very presence is wildly intimidating because he's this killing machine who will stop at nothing to turn gelflings into his trophies.
No.
At last, you are awake. We can begin.
What are you gonna do?
Claim my trophy. All were hunters, warriors. Now their strength is my own.
We also meet a good Skeksis. No, really, they do exist. The Heretic is a Skeksis who lives with a mystic called Ergo. What I love about the idea of a good Skeksis is seeing how the Gelflings react to him with caution, as they slowly but surely develop trust towards him. It's quite fascinating.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you! Do you see my wonder? Look upon my wonder!
We're looking. It's a lot.
The roommate dynamic he shares with Ergo makes their scenes together feel like a goofy sitcom, which actually works when most of their scenes are played for laughs. And they're both voiced by comedy actors Bill Hader and Andy Samberg.
We hold the key to
Skeksis. Demise! Demise, there you go. But first, an original opera!
Now, going into Age of Resistance, I was worried about how the show would recapture the darker elements of the movie. Will they tone things down for today's audiences, or be just as edgy as the film? Well, if I'm honest, I have to say that Age of Resistance is perhaps even more disturbing than the movie. I was surprised how much it was willing to take the horror of Jim Henson's film and push it even further. So much so that I have to warn parents to know what their kids are getting into, because more sensitive children will most certainly be deeply traumatized by many scenes. Heck, even I, a grown adult, found myself being creeped out by a lot of the more intense scenes, especially when a Gelfling has a clothes stripped off by the Skeksis, and when two cute little slaves are violently murdered by the scientist. The thing is though, as harrowing as these scenes of suffering are, they have purposes in the story. They help to build up how evil the Skeksis are. Their remorseless cruelty makes us hate them more and more, and motivates us to want the rebellion to succeed with a bang. But these dark moments also contrast against the more uplifting scenes and moments of victory. When something good happens to our heroes, we appreciate it so much, because of all the horrible things that have been happening. No matter how small the success is, it can be a huge dose of serotonin, due to how rare it is for our heroes to have fun or feel joy. The show does have a sense of humour to balance out the harshness too. The comedy is often very dark, but that's what helps the jokes fit into the atmosphere of the show. Comedic dialogue can double as both funny to the audience and natural to the scene at hand, which is a tightrope to walk.
What? You dare try to control Aughra? Aughra can barely control Aughra!
I did find myself laughing at least once each episode without a scene being ruined. It's a funny puppet show, not in the same sense as the Muppets, but a unique kind of black comedy. There's also romance to be found in this Resistance. You see, the show hints at some romantic tension between Rian and Deet. It's all very subtle and rarely touched upon, but you can tell that something is there, and we get cute moments where they almost kiss. Sure, I feel a little sorry for jealous Hup, but Hup never developed any connection with Deet beyond simple friendship, while the connection between Rian and Deet is more intimate, both bringing the best out of each other and sharing an adorable mutual attraction. When someone does die in the show, other characters are allowed time to come to peace with their passing and grieve in their own ways. The whole show has this beautiful relationship with death that you don't see that much in family entertainment. There's a scene where the Resistance holds a funeral for the old Muldra, but they don't have her body to bury, so Briar puts a memory of her mum into a bottle, and that becomes her essence that floats away. It's such a wonderful idea and a heartwarming way to help audiences themselves overcome their own grief. Oh, and we also have a tribe of indigenous Gelflings who have a strong spiritual connection to the dead. So much so that that's how they bond with our grieving heroes.
Your song was carried to us on the desert winds. We heard its melody and were deeply moved. These passings were very important to you. True?
No matter how dark this show gets, there's always some kind of light to balance things out. Impressively, all the puppets for Age of Resistance are very faithful to the ones from the movie. They're just a bit more polished and updated. The puppetry in this series is jaw-dropping to watch too. Some of the best puppeteers in the industry came on board for this show, and the proof is in the pudding. The acting for every puppet is so natural and organic that we forget that these are puppets.
My father wasn't what you'd call the affectionate type. I was a soldier, not a son. At least that's how it felt. But when we fought the hunter, in the gobbles, the two of us side by side, Suddenly I was both.
There's also loads of ambitious shots that push the puppets to do the impossible. You'll catch yourself saying, how did they do that, so many times while watching this series? Because the filmmakers bend the rules of puppetry so much. This is mainly thanks to modern technology, because today we have better resources than we did in the 80s. So puppeteers can use rod techniques to make puppets more agile and flexible. CGI is frequently used to spruce shots up, but computer animation effects are simply there to help improve the puppetry, not be the replacement or substitute. The computer animators were even encouraged to make the CGI replicate the imperfections of puppetry. Oh, and there's a scene where Ergo and the Heretic use their own miniature puppets to explain the history of Fra, and what must be done to save it. Yes, we're watching puppets puppeteering puppets. It's so damn charming.
Then, in our arrogance, our experiments on the crystal broke us into two.
The Skeksis and Mystics.
In the shock of division, a skirmish arose, and the wrathful Skeksis broke a shard from the crystal.
These tiny puppets were performed by the super talented YouTuber Barnaby Dixon, and he does an amazing job bringing the history of Dark Crystal to life. As for the voice acting for the puppets, well, while it can be easy to recognise the celebrity voice actors, you forget who they are soon after, because their voices are so ideal for their parts.
The General murdered the Armada.
The General?
Yes.
At the Emperor's command?
No.
Now, drink.
To the crystal.
To the crystal.
You will be a great Mortra someday, Celadon. Duty calls.
The standout voice performance comes from Simon Pegg though, who does an impeccable take on the Chamberlain, one that's faithful to the original voice, and borderline unrecognisable if you know Pegg's usual voice.
Instead of giving life, I made the crystal take life. I will be punished grievously for this failure.
No! You found answer! You are hero! Big reward! Huge!
You mock me, Skeksil!
No!
So, the season finale includes two major events. Mother Olgra sacrifices herself to the draining machine, in trade for freeing captured gelflings, but Fra resurrects her for a noble sacrifice. Yes, you could kind of call this Deus Ex Machina, but I think it's all done to give Olgra this messiah allegory, which is a very common trope for classic fantasy adventure stories. The Gelflings go up against the Skeksis in a climactic showdown that initiates the war. It's a terrific battle because we know how outmatched our heroes are, but Rian manages to stab the general, other clans courageously join the fight to expand the good side's army, and Deet uses a darkening to kill one Skeksis, which frightens them all away. Unfortunately, Netflix decided to not renew Age of Resistance for a second season, leaving fans very disappointed. I'm sure Netflix had their reasons for this, but it's a decision that stopped a great show from getting even better, and one that will possibly discourage other studios from giving puppetry a chance. Thankfully though, Lisa Henson has stated that she wants to carry the story on in another way, so we can at least look forward to that, I guess. So what do you think of Dark Crystal Age of Resistance? Let everyone know in the comment section below, and don't forget to click that like button. I've been Jamboree, and I hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, then please consider subscribing and sharing.
Hey, Woody. Woody.
Academy Award winner Martin Landau. Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
I'm a boy.
And the magic of Jim Henson's Creature Workshop.
How about carving me a girlfriend?
The Adventures of Pinocchio.
Cheerio, folks.